For our first interview of the day, we have recently seen OK, Not OK. Would you like to tell our audience who you are and what your involvement was in that film, please?
Yes, I'm Pardeep Sahota, and I was the writer-director of OK, Not OK.
Okay, tell us where the idea came from. That's probably the best place to start.
I was actually trying to make another short film. I've been trying to get funding from the various bodies for years and not finding any success, but at the same time I was saving up a bank of money to just greenlight myself. And I was trying to make another film, and I was obviously very stuck doing that because I was cleaning the house, and that's always a bad sign. And I was cleaning the bath, and then just the idea of the whole thing, just two characters, it's a relationship, there's a turn in the middle, it's all a single shot, so every cut would progress through time. All of that just came as like one kind of like lightning bolt. And so I wrote it that night, and then the very next day I did my revisions, and it's pretty much what we see on screen. I think we only ended up cutting about half a page out of it. But where it came from, I guess, is a lot of thoughts about the rise of AI, which is only getting worse. I mean, this was written in July 2023, and it's even more prophetic now. It's just bizarre. And then also I was reading about the loneliness epidemic and how technology is exacerbating that. And I wanted to, and these stories have been in the public consciousness, but what I wanted to approach it was from a British Asian perspective, but also from a working class perspective. And so that's where the whole element of premium level subscriptions and commodifying almost every aspect of our lives, from love to politeness, everything is just going to be for sale, I think.
I think people think when you shoot something in literally almost one frame that it's easy, but it's really not. Do you want to talk about some of the technical difficulties you found during your shoot?
Yeah, it was. I was like, oh, that's a cool idea, as I wrote the film, and then it was increasingly obvious to me that I've written something that's might look deceptively simple, but it's actually very tricky, because I've ended up doing that's 26 scenes, and so I've done effectively 26 one-ers. And even though I'm not moving the camera, there's no fixing this film in post. Like, we had to make sure that everything was caught on the day, and if it wasn't, then I was in a very tricky spot, because there's no cheating, cutting to a close-up or anything like that. So that meant we had to get the script very tight, and that's where the half a page kind of came out, to try and make sure that when we got to the edit, there wasn't that much that we needed to do. And then a lot of it was finding the right cast and making sure that, because it's a kind of medium wide shot, you need to, and we don't have the visual language to cut in for a close up for emotional connection. I needed actors that were going to be able to provide that emotion through the long shot as well. And so that was just a slightly tricky process, just finding the right people and just getting the right collaborators who all knew that this was the set of rules going in. So it was tricky, but then and I didn't let on to the crew how scared I was until we got to the edit, and I was like, "It works, guys," and they were like, "You're worried?" And I was like, "Yeah, I was worried." But yeah.
And how did you select your cast?
So the lead role of Bhairavi, I actually saw her in another short film called Ratham. It was a BFI network short, which was really great, and just the emotional empathy in that film, I just was like, I really connected with her. And so then I saw her at a party for London Film Festival, and I was like, I'm writing something at the minute, and she kind of just looked at me as like I was some psycho. And she was like, yeah, sure, send it to me. And then eventually I sent it to him. She was like, I love this. It's like, it's a British Asian character who was specifically written as British Asian, but her culture is not a function of the plot. And she was like, that's not what I normally get offered, so I'd love to do it. And then from there we got Stevie Davies, who is our casting director, and he found us Jay, and he was great as well. He was a collaborator right from the beginning. And then from there we kind of filled out the cast from there.
And I love the colour palette, and I think you can do so much, you can tell so much in a colour palette. Was there any specific thought processes behind the colours?
Yeah, my very first collaborator after producer was Linda Wu, who's a phenomenal cinematographer, and she was like a champion of the film right from the beginning. And that was one of the first things that we talked about, was how the way I pitched it to her was like, I've got this film and I'm going to tie one of your cinematography arms behind your back. We can't move the camera, so now we're going to have to tell the story through light. And she found that like a challenge that she really wanted to relish. And then I never thought I'd storyboard a single shot scene before, a single shot movie, sorry, and I ended up doing 26 storyboards. And in that we went through what time of year it is, what where the light is, and what kind of colours, just to kind of express that journey that Loretta goes on. And that was one of the first entry points into how we tell this story without using sort of usual cinematic devices.
Yeah. It's almost like the colour palette was your third actor.
Definitely. Yeah.
And I sat and watched it and I thought to myself, I've not seen use of colour like this since Peter Greenaway's The Cook, the Thief, His Wife and Her Lover. And I just thought it was, quite ingenious what you'd managed to achieve there. How long did the shoot take?
The shoot was very quick. We did 2 days, so it's 26 scenes in 2 days, and then we did half a day for pre-light and set build. So it was a fairly quick shoot, but then again it was just getting great collaborators. Dan Wachowski was our first AD, was phenomenal in getting everyone marshalled around, great producers as well. But it was just a really well-oiled team. Just everyone was working on their A game. Like we didn't go over or anything like that. It was really focused and really fun.
And do you mind telling us what your budget was?
Yeah. So we did about I think it's about 13,000 production budget, and then we've obviously spent more, a little bit on post. It wasn't a huge amount, but more on festivals after that. But yeah.
And was it a set or was it a
Yeah, it was a set. We were initially looking for a location, and we just couldn't find the right one. And then the way my producer, we ended up finding a deal for the studio, and so he was like, "This is actually comparable to filming a location, but we can build everything." So I was like, "Let's just do that." And then, luckily for us at the time, Linda's film had just won the BAFTA before, and I'd signed her on before. So I was like, "This is fantastic." So every lighting company was trying to make a deal with her. So we ended up looking a lot bigger than a £13,000 film. But that was all thanks to just Panavision and the lighting companies just cutting a very good deal for us.
I guess the question being is, do you see any potential expansion in a story like this? And if so, how do you think you would expand it?
Yeah, I got asked this the other day, and someone said you can make it as a play. I was like, yeah, I could do that. I know I've not really thought about expanding this specific idea. There's a couple of other short films that I've got where I like to make stories that are kind of fit for purpose and not necessarily broader ideas for features. I have separate ideas for features, but my aim, and it's kind of the filmmakers I admire as well, is they've got these stories, but it's more, you're more keying into the voice of the writer or the writer director. So tonally, I think there's other stories that are definitely the same tone of voice, but not necessarily expanding this specific story.
Yeah. And before I ask the audience any questions they may have, was there a particular moment of the shoot or the edit that gave you, intense euphoria because of, because sometimes these things just don't translate, do you?
Yeah. And
I understand when you said about, it worked, but I think every film has a moment where you just sort of wow,
Yeah. I mean, there was a couple on the day where it was that crying scene where we did, that was one take. There was a lot of things where it's even that the long scenes we have in the middle where he reveals who he is. Just watching those unfold and just seeing, okay, this is working on set. But I guess the biggest moment was that edit, because I did the first edit with my editor, and it was scary because it was dead. and there was no other sound in it. And so it was a moment of fear. I was like, this doesn't work. And then as soon as we put temp sound in, because it was the audio design of the film was built into the script as well. And so as soon as we put that extra element in, which was sorely needed, then I was like, oh, okay, right, this really works. And so I'd say that was the biggest element of euphoria, because I could send it out to my collaborators at that point and go, okay, we now need to finish this, but it's there.
And talk to us a little bit about your past works. What else have you done in the world of film?
So I normally do like commercials and promos. I've been doing that for a few years. But in like 2019, I did a low budget short film, which was like for £250, with getting friends as collaborators and things like that. And then that did like fairly well on the festival circuit, and that gave me the confidence to pursue my voice in terms of like not what I normally do in terms of commercials, which is working for clients. And I had another script ready to go, but then the pandemic happened, and then everything kind of started grinding to a halt. So this is the first film since then, but we're building on that success now.
And sorry, I know I said I'd go to the audience, but so you jumped from £250 to £13,000. Which was the more stressful financially?
The £13,000.
Yeah.
That was definitely the stress, and like just the ambitiousness of this. It was like I was really making a rod for my own back, and so I was very stressed. I didn't let it on, but that was tricky. And then the goal of this was always to get, say, the funders on board with my tone of voice and how I kind of like genre hop and tonally make things a little bit more complex and muddied. And and I feel like that's opened the door now since then. So it's paid off, but it was a gamble at the time for sure.
Okay, do we have any questions out there? Sorry. Oh, it's very. Oh, hang on, bear with me.
That was great. I can't wait to speak to you about more if you're sticking around. Was the sort of comedic elements always there in the initial idea, or was the initial idea to you kind of just purely dark, or do you think it needs that sort of element? And was any of that kind of from the actors, or was it in the script?
That was all in script, and that's like what I was talking about, tone of voice. Like I find I always write comedy into the things that I do, because it's normally kind of like it's quite tragic otherwise, and I feel there needs to be that sweetness to swallow the dark pill. That was always there. I love the films of like Paul Verhoeven, where it makes a satirical comment on society through genre. It was just how I kind of see the world. I kind of need to laugh through the darkness.
Cool. Hang on, got another one here.
Okay, thank you. Congratulations. I thought it was a really good film. I thought it was an excellent film. Is there anything you would have done differently if you was to redo the same film?
Yeah, definitely, yeah. I think I could have done, I would like to have expanded a little bit more, maybe in terms of the manipulation of Zane. I feel like I've left it quite subtle in the film at the minute, but I feel like he could have, the emotional manipulation that he actually takes place with Loretta and slowly, subtly manipulates her to buy more. I think I would maybe focus on that a little bit more if I was doing it again.
And what's next?
Off the back of this, I got accepted onto the BFI Early Development Fund, so we're developing a feature with the BFI. And there's another short film that we are looking for funding, but that's gone like another level up. So we've gone to the BFI Film for Future Takes Fund for that one. They're both kind of dark comedy genre films.
I think you trod the divide of both being incredibly funny and quite dark and sad very well. So big round of applause, please. Thank you very much. Thank you.